Hey Scott, Shane, how you doing?
Hey, what's up?
Not a lot, and I'm excited to hear everything you've had going on there. Did you catch any fish this
Okay.
morning?
Yeah, I caught eight good sized crappie and I don't know, 7 or 8 bass.
Oh wow,
The bass were they were under 14 inches, so
white bass.
they were black bass.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm down here in Port Arthur, down here in these bayous down here fishing,
Oh
fishing
okay.
those cypress knobs and all that.
Yeah.
You gotta basically it's so hot, you gotta put your lure right on top of the bass for them to hit it.
Yeah, I get that. They're kind of being
So
lazy, looking for the
yeah,
opportunity.
yeah. Yeah, when I was talking to you, I was soaking wet. I was heading to the boat ramp. I can't take this heat because the wind stopped blowing, and my God, it got hot.
Oh yeah, I was outside
Yeah,
earlier. That's why I couldn't call you immediately, and it was just
yeah,
I was dying already.
yeah, yeah. And we moved to Blooming Grove. It's just a one horse town. It's a farming community out in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
It's but we moved there back in '85, and
How
I
close
found
is
that creek.
that to or Church? What was the creek called again? Chambers Lake or Chambers Creek?
Chambers, yeah,
Yeah.
Chambers Creek. You heard of Richland Chambers Lake?
I'm not. But is that part of like Lake Conroe, south of Lake Conroe?
No, that's over by Richland Chambers Lake. Is just kind of southeast of Corsicana. It's
Oh,
probably the second biggest lake in Texas.
oh wow! I'm surprised I
It's a
haven't heard of
huge
that.
lake. Yeah, yeah. It's a fairly new lake. It was built probably 25 years ago or so. Uh,
Okay.
but anyway, they call it it's Richland Chambers Lake. It's a humongous lake. Don't quote me. I think it's the second largest lake in Texas.
So this
But
Chambers Creek comes off of that Chambers Lake, or does it
yeah,
flow into
yeah.
it or out of it?
There's a Richland Creek and there's a Chambers Creek, and they merge together on down, and they form Richland Chambers Lake. That's how they named it.
Okay.
And so it's yeah, but yeah. That's anyway. We moved there back in like '85. I just found that creek. It's 5 miles from the house, and it's really good fishing down there. And anyway, people was asking me where I'm catching all these catfish at, and I told them at the creek. I didn't know the name of it. And they asked me exactly where that creek was at, and I tell them, and every one of them, all the old timers say, "Boy, you stay away from that creek." I said, "Yeah." I said, "What? Why? I'm new there. I don't know." They just said, "There's something down there. You need to stay away from there."
So the
And
old timers, they
I
had
heard that.
quite the reputation then.
Yeah, and even my sister was dating a deputy sheriff, and I was talking to him about fishing at that creek. And I said, "You want to go down and fish one evening?" And he said, "No." He said, "I do not go down there anymore." And I said, "Well, what's the deal?" He said, "There's something down there, is all I can tell you." He said, "I'll stay away from that." And I asked him what had happened. I said, "What makes you think that?" Because I didn't believe it. I'd heard Bigfoot all my life, and I didn't believe none of that. Now, I've been out in the woods hunting in East Texas all my life, and this and that. Never seen nothing out of the ordinary, but like I said, I wasn't looking for nothing
Right.
except what I was hunting. And he just said they were back in there one day, kind of back in there where I fish at, and they hit a couple of jacked up trucks, 4-wheel drives back there mudding, and they got them both stuck late that night and trying to pull each other out. He said, so we just walking down that old road bed back to the highway, and he said there was about 5 or 6 of them, and he said the moon was out. He said something big and hairy from 2 feet stepped out in front of us in the roadway. The moon lit it up. He said it was humongous. And he said, man, we made a beeline through the woods. We ran all the way around it back to the highway, started hitchhiking. We thought us a ride-some old man. We went back the next day with guns to get those trucks out.
Wow.
He said, we're not going back. And it's just, I've just heard a lot of stories, I don't know about all that, But like I said, I've hunted that. It's infested with hogs. And I've hunted that for 30 years. I've been way back in there at 2 o'clock in the morning, hunting pigs by myself, and never heard or seen nothing out of the ordinary. Never really seen any tracks. I've seen barefoot tracks along the creek bed, but I just figured maybe it's somebody. You see like a barefoot track in the mud along the creek bank where they slid.
Right.
But I just figured somebody's back there swimming. I don't know. I never paid tracking attention. Sticks and all that, the X marks and all. I've seen tons of that, but I never knew what that was until I really started looking into this Bigfoot stuff. And I thought, okay, I've seen all this.
Yeah, that's when everything comes back to you, and you can.
I just never paid any attention like the X's, and I've noticed trees over my head tall. I'm 6 foot. just twisted around. Like, how'd that happen? I thought I could see in the mountains a big elk or something, or a moose or something, fighting with the tree and getting it wound up his horns and twisting it around. But Texas, we don't have nothing like that.
No.
But I've questioned that. I wonder how that happened. It's just, it's things that make you go,
Yeah.
And I would move. I'm just going about my business because I didn't know.
Yeah. And now knowing what you know, it kind of makes sense, right? So.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in my life. I'm 61 years old, and I've got a lot of questions. I've kept quiet about all this for years because I did tell some people about things that I've experienced, and they just laughed at me. And they'd say, "Man, what was you smoking?" And so I stopped talking after that. I just keep it to myself.
Yeah. Well, they always laugh until it happens to them.
But I did tell everybody at work the other day when I joined your site, I said, "Hey, I went to the office. Guess what?" Guess what? I said, "I joined the Bigfoot site." And I was going to see what they had to say, and they just laughed.
They just laughed.
I don't care, though, anymore. I think somebody needs to hear what I got to say.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The more people that come forward, the better.
I've kept quiet a long time. My wife, she told me, my God, she said, "Here lately, you're possessed with Bigfoot videos. All you watch." I said, "What? Why?" I said, "I'm looking for things in these videos, these documentaries, people, noises and sounds and whistles and stuff. I'm trying to see if I can find the same thing on these videos that I've experienced is what I'm looking for. I'm not watching it just to be watching.
Right.
I'm observing everything that goes on, what they're looking for. Like they hear a whistle or something like that. Like I was in the woods one time and I heard this. I was out there sitting in this stand way out in the woods. And I heard this, like, I don't know what it was, gibberish, like mumbling. It was mumbling. And I was looking out, who's out here? But there was nobody out there. I thought, that sounds like somebody mumbling.
Yeah, that's reported a lot, and I understand what you're doing. You're looking for your validation. So.
Yeah, I'm just. I don't have any answers to any of this. People say, "Well, you have cast." Man, I don't even know how to make a cast.
Right.
It's just I've never seen anything really to cast.
Yeah.
Sticks. Now, if I see a tree uprooted and it's stuck in the ground and the roots are sticking up, yeah, I'm going to take pictures of that and question that. How did that get like that? Unless maybe a tornado picked it up and slammed it down. I always had kind of an explanation why things happen, but a lot of stuff that I've run across over the years, I don't have any answers to it.
So that's pretty typical. And now, especially now when you go out hunting or fishing, you're going to have that extra eye and the extra ear out since you know the possibilities.
That's just like I'm down here in Port Arthur working, and my son, he's still up there in Woodland Grove, and he's like 25. He's got a dirt bike. He called me one day about 2 years ago. He called me. He said, "Hey, Dave," it was on Saturday. He said, "Hey, Dad, what are you doing?" I said, "I was sitting there watching TV." He said, "I'm out here where you fish at Chambers Creek. I'm riding my dirt bike." I said, "Okay, that's a good place to ride a dirt bike." And he said, "There's some old man out here." He said, "He's setting up camp out here where you fish at the hole." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, who is he?" Because we know about everybody around there. It's a small community. Everybody knows everybody. And he said, "I don't know." He said, "I said, what's he look like?" He said, "Just an old gray-headed man with gray beard." He said, "He drives a white flatbed Dodge." I said, "Well, that just describes every farmer around there. They've all got that, And I said, "I don't know." I said, "Well," he said, "Look like he's got fishing stuff." And I said, "Well, he's just getting away for the weekend, get away." I said, "He's in a good spot." And so that was that. And the next day, my son called me. He said, "Dad, I'm back here at the creek again riding my dirt bike. I've been out here all day." He said, "That old man's, his camp is all set up over there still." He said, "But his truck hadn't been there all day." I said, "Why do you want to town?" He said, "Well, he's been gone since this morning. Here it is late evening and nothing yet." He said, "I wonder if something happened over there." I said, "I don't know. Good off." And he said, "When I get through riding my bike, I'm going to load it up and I'm going to drive over there in the truck and check it out to see if something happened." I said, "Okay." And so a little bit later, he calls me. He said, "Dad, I sent you these pictures. I want you to look at them." So I looked at the pictures, and I'm on the phone with him too while I'm looking at them. And I said, "What's this about?" And it was the old man. He had I remember the color. It was a yellow and white dome tent. And it was like half of it, like somebody fell into half of it, just smashed over. The other half was still standing. And then he took a picture inside of the tent, and the old man's, his jeans with the belt still in them were laid out. There was a pack of cigarettes and a lighter in there. And over in the back of the tent, there was a 6-pack of beer in a bottle that don't look like the caps had been off yet. And then over to the right, there was a small duffel bag, maybe some clothes in there or something. And then outside the tent, he had like a little black tabletop charcoal grill. And it was like thrown over in some weeds. And the lid was tossed probably 15 yards away on the other side in the weeds.
Wow.
And then you could see where you could see where it was ashes, where the fire had burned out, just the gray ash from his fire.
Right.
You could see where he had a neatly stacked firewood beside his fire. But it's like somebody kicked it, and there was firewood scattered everywhere. But the bottom logs were still neatly stacked. They just kicked the top part, and there was logs scattered everywhere, whatever firewood he had gathered up, I guess. And then I asked Chase, I said, what's all that white stuff on the ground all over the place around that fire, where the fire was at? He said, playing cards. I said, do what? He said, they're playing cards, Dad. And I said, like somebody's playing cards and just threw them up in the air. He said, yeah, exactly. I said, that don't make sense. I said, something must have happened. I said, his pants were still in the tent. And I started thinking, you know what? I wonder if something came up on him that night. Maybe he was playing cards by himself at the fire, and something came up on him, scared the crap out of him. He threw the cards in there and jumped in his truck with his underwear on and left.
That's what it sounds like.
That's what I was thinking. That's all I could think of, you know.
I mean, who leaves other gear around, you know? And I mean, trash. You're not going to trash your own camp, obviously.
No, this thing. I told him. I said, Chase. I said that could be a crime scene. I said, do not touch nothing. I said, look around. He said, Dad, I'm gonna look around the bushes. Somebody may have come here and robbed this old man and killed him. I said, that's a good idea, but I said, do not put your fingers on nothing there.
Right.
I said, you look around. I said, if you find him in the weeds or something or whatever, I said, you call 911. You call me. I said, I'll be up there in 4 hours. And so he looked around and said, Dad, there's nothing around. He said, he's just gone. And I said, well, I don't know. I said, I have no idea.
Did he happen to see any prints?
The playing cards is what got me. I thought, just like you threw them in the air, because I couldn't, I said, that don't make sense. Their playing cards are scattered all around the fire on the ground. It's like somebody just threw them up in the air and took off.
Yeah, that's unusual. I mean, the whole thing's unusual.
Yeah, and that was 2 years ago. So I thought, well, I guess I don't know what happened. That could have been something totally different, you know. But I think that was kind of unusual for something like that to happen. Because his campsite, from what I've seen, had been demolished.
Yeah. Did he say anything about seeing prints or broken limbs from trees around, or?
No, there's not really any trees around. There's some trees over towards the bluff where you go down to the hole at the fish, but he's kind of more or less out in the open.
Okay.
Yeah. But I still think about that too. And he sent me pictures of all that, and I've been looking at my old phones. I go through a new phone every year. I break them or drop them in the water or whatever. I found my older phone from the year before last. I thought maybe it's on there. I'm trying to find those pictures that he sent me. I can't find them. Because yesterday I was looking through my old phone, and it was not on that one, so I don't know which phone they're on, but I'm going to keep looking through my old phones, and I'm going to see if maybe he's by any chance still has those pictures.
Yeah, I'd like to see those as well. I mean, it's definitely piqued my curiosity. I'd like to know what happened.
Yeah, I still question that. That goes through my mind, what happened down there that night. You know?
And, in doing this over the years, I've come across my share of what just looks like abandoned camps.
Yeah.
And tents tore up, and it always piques your curiosity because you don't know why would they leave all this, you know.
Yeah.
That's weird.
But as far as the woods out there, I mean, I grew up basically in the big thicket. Since I was a kid, I would mow yards in the summertime, and I would buy steel traps, and I would trap. And that's before all these deer leases started. Paper mills owned all that. You could go anywhere you wanted to, just pull off the side of the road somewhere and hunt.
Right.
There wasn't any leases back then when I was young, and I would trap. I'd go way deep in the woods, set traps. We had a fur buyer that come by the feed store every month and bought the hides. That's how I make my spinning money. Nice. And I've never seen nothing out of the ordinary or heard anything, but I didn't know anything about anything like this back then.
Right. You weren't looking for anything.
No, it's me. I'm only one track mind. I'm only looking for what I'm after.
Right.
Hogs or deer, and that's it. But I did have something happen to me up there.
And the big thicket.
This old man, well, no, this was up there around where I live at. This old man, he's got a big bunch of land up there. And all across the road from his land, we call it the 75-acre block. It's just a block of woods. And across the road is his big land where he keeps his cows and all that. And me and this other guy, a friend of mine, we would cut him a cord of firewood every year. And he would let us hunt that 75-acre block for firewood. And so anyway, a buddy of mine, he hunted way back on one end, and I hunted on the other end. We both knew where each other was. And anyway, he went his way. He's got a board way a mile up in a pecan tree. I don't know how he gets up in there, but he does. And so I just thought, I'm going to be on the other end down the property. And so I was going through the woods, and the terrain kind of changed. It was just flat ground, wooded. And all of a sudden, it come to like this hill that dropped down into like a mountain. And there was a trail that was kind of eroding out that went down the hill, and it had cedar trees on each side of the trail. And so anyway, I used on down. I was hog hunting back in there, and so I got to the bottom of that trail into that bottom, and so I got on a hog trail just a few feet from where I come off that hillside trail at, and I squatted. I had a 30-30, and I squatted down looking at hog tracks. And about that time, I heard movement. Something brushed in those cedars on that trail where I just came from. It's like, you got a jacket and you're going through some cedars and it brushes against your coat.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. And I raised my head up like that, and I looked up there, and it stopped when I looked. And so I thought, well, I don't know what that was. So I went back looking at the hog tracks. When I looked down, it moved again. I heard it again. It was coming down the trail I just came down. And when I raised my head again, it stopped. And so I thought, well, buddy of mine, I thought he must have moved. So there I am squatting down. I don't want to get shot. So I said, Bobby, I'm real quiet. I'm hunting. And no answer. And so I just kind of whistle like that. Bobby. They know where I'm at. And no answer. And so I thought, well, he would have answered me. And so I went back looking at hog tracks again. And then it moved again. By then it was at the bottom of the hill. Down in the bottom where I'm at. Which I was probably about 20 yards away from that trail. I just come off of. And all of a sudden I hear something walking towards me. These woods are clean. Not a bunch of underbrush in them. You can see really good through these woods in that bottom. Starts walking towards me. And I thought, what is this? It's like me or you just casually walking through the woods making a racket,
Right.
It's coming. But there's nothing there. And my eyes are following the ground, the sound. This thing's coming right towards me. And I found it. I raised up, and I got the hammer back on the gun, and I've got the gun pointed at the ground following the sound, and it walks within 3 feet of me. And the whole time I'm turning my gun, and it went on until the noise disappeared. I'm thinking, what just happened? What was that?
And you never saw anything.
I never seen nothing. It walked right by me. And so I thought, okay, there's a hayfield out there. You could see out where the tree line with the way it was going. There's a hayfield out there, and the old man, he had just cut that hayfield. I thought, it went out toward the hayfield. I'm going to run out there to the fence and catch it in the field and see what it was. And I ran out there to the edge of the barbed wire fence where the field started, looked out, there's nothing out there. And so anyway, I didn't say nothing to my buddy when we got back to the truck that night. And I was talking to the old man on that property several weeks later about that. And he said, I'm telling you, Scott, he said, well, I don't go on that 75-acre block anymore because there's something out there. I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, he said, that old ladder stand I've got out there on that's an old piece of an old log in the road. I said, yeah. He said, I was sitting in that one morning, and he said, something was like a bug kept playing with the hair on my neck. I kept swatting at it, a mosquito or something. He said, looked around, there's nothing there, and I thought maybe it's a limb hanging down. He said, but I trimmed all the limbs away. He said, it just kept messing with the hair on my neck, but there's nothing there. He said, indirectly, he said, it's clear morning. He said, there's a patch of fog just in the woods off the old rope bed I'm sitting on that stand. And he said, it's not very big, and it starts moving through the woods. The patch of fog does, and stops. And then it slowly comes down the hillside towards me and comes right below my stand and just sits there. I'm sitting there staring at this patch of fog. And he said, then it moves back into the woods And bam, it's just like a vaporized. It just looked like a vapor trail that left. He said, I'm telling you, there's something out there. He said, I seen it with my own eyes. He said, and I don't go out there anymore. He said, because that land it's still in their survey when they first surveyed Texas, the Melton survey. It's still in that name, that family land back when they first surveyed Texas. It's been passed down all these generations. And he said, I know all that property like the back of my hand. He said, I went out there one day and I got lost in that 75-acre block. He said, I spent all day trying to get out. He said, finally I got out that night and I wasn't far from home, so I just left my truck and walked over the house. He said, that don't make sense.
Yeah, that's one of the strangest things I've heard in a while.
He said, I could not get out of there. He said, just walking in circles. And he said, that's why I don't go out there anymore.
Yeah, it's like someone was messing with his mind.
Yeah. Kind of weird.
Yeah, that's crazy.
There's another place, though, too, there, not just Chambers Creek, but it's Navarro County, Navarro Mills Lake. It's just south of Lemon Grove where I live. It's probably, 15 minutes from where I live, because I fish out there a lot. And that several years ago, this guy that owns a cafe over there, he told me, he said, he told me BFRO was in town. I said, who's that? He said, Bigfoot. He said, they got a huge trailer they just pulled in. He said, it's all decaled out, says BFRO down it. They're going to the lake out there to do some investigations out there. I said, whereabouts? And he told me, I said, that's where I hunt out there. I hunt across the street from those houses. Because there's a row of houses across from that land, and they're all claiming that there's something going on out there. That the people are seeing something. They're seeing stuff. Huge, whatever, things on 2 feet walking around. And I never heard any more about that, though. But some other people in town told me, yeah, that Bigfoot people, they're in town right now. They're going out to the lake investigating all this.
Yeah, what lake was that again?
Navarro Mills Lake.
Okay.
Yeah, it's see, I hunted out there. It's called Brushy Prairie. That's where I hunted at. It's core engineer land.
Okay.
And that's where I hunted at. And there is a deal on that from this. I don't know if it's BFRO. I seen another site, something. What is it? Something Wood Ape Society or whatever.
Oh yeah, the Wood Ape Conservatory.
North, whatever Wood Ape. I seen they've got something on there. I think about Brushy, about these reports where they went out there and did stories on those. Because the people out there, I read the stories about reports about what happened out there, and these people, they said they had there's Great Pyrenees dog that they keep with these goats. They keep, the Great Pyrenees dogs, they protect the goats from the coyotes and animals.
Right.
And they had that dog, it was a kid's dog, and they said he could be mean when he had to be, but he was a kid's dog. They had him in the house, and he was throwing up to get out. So he was going crazy. So they let him out, and he took off out back. And he didn't come back. They called and called. So the next morning, they went looking for that dog. And he said they found that dog in those woods. These are big dogs. They're like, they're humongous.
Oh, yeah, Great Pyrenees. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they found that dog way back in the woods at their property. He was alive, but his back was snapped in half.
Oh, my gosh.
And they put him in a wagon with a horse blanket, and they pulled him back to the house. I guess they put him to sleep. I don't know what they did with it. And then there's another story that I read. Right in that same little house, a house that's right across from that core lake land. This woman, she was putting her kids in the car that morning. It was still dark. They were taking them to daycare so she could go to work. And anyway, she said her husband was building a lean-to roof on the side of their barn, back in the back. And it's just a frame, and the end of the lean-to frame is like about 8 foot tall, which is about right for a lean-to. And she said it's just a frame, though. And she said the dog was barking and raising Cain, and anyway, she was putting the kids in the car. When she got in the car, she cranked her car up, and the headlights lit it up back there where the frame was at, where the building on that. And she said there was something walking towards that barn, towards that frame. And she said it went behind the frame, and its head was just a little bit taller than the framework was.
Oh, wow.
And anyway, she burned it out. She called the law, and I don't know what happened on that, but I read the report on that whatever these Bigfoot Society people or whoever, they went out there and investigated all that. They just said they found her to be credible, stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that area out. I mean, their problem is there's so many areas in Texas.
I know it. They're everywhere.
Yeah,
it's just
that floors a lot of people. I mean, even when I found out several years ago that there was Bigfoot in Texas, I didn't expect that whatsoever.
Yeah, I've heard about it, over the years. As a kid, I never heard of anything like that. I didn't know anything like that existed. And then being grown up, I'd heard about it, and I'm like everybody else. I would just laugh about it because I grew up in the woods. I've never seen nothing.
Right.
But there's things that I've witnessed or experienced that I couldn't make sense of. But and now that I'm older, I start putting all these pieces together, and it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was at the Barrel Mills lake on that Coreland one night. I was hog hunting way back in there by the lake, way back in this full of hogs. And that's about where these Bigfoot reports were made back in there. When these people, what they seen across those houses. And I was sitting up in a tree off a hog trail, and it's about probably 11 o'clock at night. I was waiting on some hogs to come through, so I popped one of them. And over from me, I'd say about 200 yards through the woods over from me, I kept hearing a racket over there. And I thought it was somebody because I kept hearing a whistle. And I thought, okay, somebody is out here looking for their dog. They lost their hunting dog out here. But they never really moved around. You would think if they're looking for their dog, they'd holler they would yell his name and start all kinds of whistling and this and that, but it's just kind of like that. I'll hear that. And a bunch of racket. And I blew it off as somebody looking for their dog. I thought, well, it sounded like 2 or 3 people maybe over there because there was so much brush breaking and racket going on. Like I said, it was a good ways. It was about 200 yards, but it was real still that night. I could hear a lot.
Right.
And I thought, man, I should people would shut up over there because I'm trying to hunt over here. But anyway, I was walking back to the truck, and then I didn't hear it anymore. And then later I started thinking about that. I thought, that something wasn't right about that night. That wasn't somebody out there because when I got back to my truck, there's the Corps got a little parking spot off the gravel road that you pull in where the gate's at.
Right.
It's walk-in only on that land. And so I got back to my truck. It's kind of sandy, loose dirt. I went and looked at truck tracks to see who had been out there after I had done been there to see who rode over my tracks. And my truck tracks were still over everybody else's tracks. So
I figured you were going to say that.
Yeah, I thought, so there's nobody's been out here but me.
Yeah.
And so I started thinking about, well, what was all that racket I heard over there? And I started questioning that. I thought, and then I hear about this Bigfoot whistle,
Right.
I thought, hey, there was a whistle, but it wasn't like me and you whistling. It was just like that. Kind of weird or whatever.
Yeah, very unlikely to be somebody looking for their dog. I mean, no names being used, nothing,
Yeah, because there's you can hunt all that. It's shotgun only on that core land. I think you can hunt with beagles if you're rabbit hunting, and that's it. That's the rule. You can't use dogs out there to hog hunt. And so I don't really know. But there's a lot of things that's happened that I question now. I thought, they just didn't. At the time, I just blew it off. But then I started thinking about it later, and I thought, something just wasn't right about that night.
Well, with everything I know, I mean, it sounds like you had some, we'll say, incidental encounters that you weren't aware of, kind of.
We had went way back in the back of that lake. Me and my sister and my brother-in-law was back there hog hunting. And I said, let's go where nobody else goes. Let's go way back in there. Because it's like 4,000 acres, and it's the wildest country you'll ever go through. It's just bottom land. It's when the lake floods, it backs up through that. We got way back in there that evening, and we got situated where we was all going to sit and hunt. And I grew up hunting out in the woods, but I just had a weird feeling the whole time I'm looking over my shoulder because I just had a feeling something was watching me the whole time I was there. I didn't want to be there. And finally, before it got dark, I got up and moved, and I kind of whistled for everybody and said, let's go. And we got to this tree, and it was god-awful smell you ever smelled. It was like, I don't know what it was. I told my sister, I said, what is that smell? It's right there at that tree. and it's like something been peeing on it over the years or something, rubbing on. I don't know. It's wild hogs stink. I know what they smell like because I hunted 1,000 of them. But this wasn't a wild hog smell. It was some kind of a wild animal smell with like, I don't know, barnyard rank smell to it. And even my brother, he's a big hunter. He hunts Colorado elk and all that. And he told me, man, I don't know what that smell is, but I've never smelled that before. So we was curious on that. I said, we already go back and set up on it one time, put cameras on it, but it's just so far back in there, we never went back.
Yeah, when you got two avid hunters that don't recognize a smell like that, then you know something's going on.
Yeah. I can smell a hog in the woods if he's close. I've hunted so many of them things and trapped so many of them. But there's just a lot of mystery on that out there, that lake area. And Chambers Creek, that's a big mystery there because I've never been around out of the woods in my life. But that night, that story I told y'all yesterday, I ran out of the woods.
Yeah, I definitely want to hear that story. I had never even heard about the Chambers Creek monster until you told me.
Until people tell me about these monsters and all. I thought, do what? So I just Googled Bigfoot, Chambers Creek bottom. And it came up Chambers Creek monster. And I thought, do what? And there's lots of stories on that. Okay, so I started reading into them, and that's where we're at. I mean, that's how I found out about it.
And that's
people over the years that told me just stay away from down there. I went and talked to one old man there where I lived. He's well known. He owns a granary there in that small town. Owns thousands of acres all around, big cattle ranch. And I'm friends with him, and I went and talked to him, and I said, we called him EO. I said, EO, what's the story on the Chambers, on the creek down here? He said, what do you mean? I said, everybody keeps telling me stay away from that creek. There's something down there. I said, you're from here, your family's from here, you've been here forever. We're transplants here. I don't know the history of this. I said, can you tell me something about that? And he talked with a raspy voice. Oh, Scott, that was years ago. I said, what was years ago? Years ago, people claimed there was a hairy, overgrown varmint that walked on his hind feet down there. He said, but it hadn't been seen in years. I said, okay. He said that there's an old wooden bridge that goes over that creek. It's a cut through the crops. And it's a shortcut to get from Lemon Grove back over towards Ennis. And he said, it's just an old wooden bridge. It's really high. Don't have any railings on it. It's just a wooden bridge. It's a real tall bridge. It goes to that creek. But that creek gets out of control sometimes. He said some older women went up drunk. They cut through that road to go play bingo in the next town over in Ennis. He said they took the back roads back that night. And it said probably about 10 or 11 o'clock at night. He said, and they come around the curve, their headlights picked it up walking across that bridge. He said they just said it was a big hairy man with humongous, and he had hair all over him walking across that bridge. And their headlights picked it up. They hit reverse. They backed up and went the other way. And he said, and they hadn't been back to Ennis to play bingo since.
Wow.
He said, but like I said, that was years ago. I said, okay. I said, well, I'm just curious because we're not from here, and everybody tells me. And all I have to do is say Chambers Creek, and they tell me stay away from down there. And nothing's really ever happened to me down there. I've hunted that place for 30 years and fished it, but.
And that kind of runs through. Does that run through Richland Creek Wildlife Management Area?
Richland Creek Wildlife, the WMA, that's down. I believe that's down below the lake, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's below the lake. Yeah, all that. Because Chambers and Richland Creek run together to form. That's what feeds Richland Chambers Lake.
Okay.
And then from there, it's a area below the dam. It's just a channel they dug that goes from the dam from the lake to the Trinity River, which is probably about 5 miles, probably, where it dumps into the Trinity.
Okay, so Richland Chambers Reservoir. And, so that's the area we're referring to there. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But I'll back up a little bit though. Before whatever run me out of the woods when I was fishing, it was about, I don't remember, maybe 5 or 6 years before that happened. Me and this old man would go down to that fishing hole, fish in the evenings. and he was probably about 80 years old. He was from there. And anyway, we sitting there fishing one evening. The sun was going down behind the trees. I was talking to him, and he said, "Did you hear that?" He called me Scotty. "Scotty, did you hear that?" I said, "No, I was talking to you." I said, "What'd you hear?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I heard something across the creek in those woods, that bluff out that I was talking about yesterday."
Yes.
He said, "It's just inside those woods over there." He said, "I heard something over there." I said, "What'd you hear?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "Let's just be quiet and listen." And so we sat there and we listened a little bit, maybe 5 minutes or nothing. I tapped him and said, "Bill, what'd you hear?" He said, "Let's just be quiet and listen." He said, "I know I heard something a while ago." And so we sat there and listened, and man, all of a sudden there directly, something just inside those woods started moaning. I've never heard nothing like it in my life. Every hair on my body stood straight up. My eyes got probably as big as saucers. I looked at him, my jaw dropped. I thought, "My God, what is that, Bill?" He just waved me off. He said, be quiet, listen." And so we sat there listening, and it just went on. And I just kept thinking when I heard it of a 55-gallon drum. That's how big the lungs were, because you could feel vibration on your body. And it was a moan like you wouldn't believe. It was the awfulest moan you ever heard in your life. I can't even describe it.
Kind of like a sad moan.
It was just like I kept thinking of a caveman. It was, I'm serious, I can't even do it. It was like, it was doing that. And I mean, my God, but it was super loud. And I told Bill, I said, "That sun's going behind the tree. Let's go. We're leaving now." And he said, "Let's go." And when we were packing up, it was still moaning. It was just inside, probably 25 yards, 30 yards inside those woods from that bluff, from the creek. And as we sit in the truck, it was still doing that.
Okay, so very close to y'all then.
Yeah, it was close. And anyway, I dropped him. He lived back behind us, and I dropped him off. And the next morning, I walked down to his house. And I said, "Bill," I said, "what do you think that was yesterday that we heard?" He said, "I don't know, Scotty." He said, "I've been up since 4 o'clock this morning drinking coffee thinking about that." He said, "I'm 81, 82 years old." He said, "I'm an old man." He said, "I've coon hunted those woods since I was a kid." He said, "I ain't never heard nothing like it in my life." He said, "I have no idea." I said, "You think it was a big cat or?" He said, "There ain't no cat making noise like that." I said, "Well, I don't know what else it could. I don't know what it was." That's what I'm getting at. He said, he said, "No." He said, "Whatever it was, shouldn't be there. That's all I'm going to say." He said, "And we're not going down there for a while, and we're not staying until dark anymore when we do go back."
Right.
I said, "Well, I'm with you on that."
What time of the day was it that started?
It was late. The sun was going behind the trees. It was getting late. The sun was on its way down. Because it was already behind the trees. When it made that noise, all behind me, the sun was already behind the trees. It was getting shadows everywhere.
Was that summertime or?
It wasn't. It wasn't hot. It may have been spring.
Okay.
We really don't go down there when it's hot because you're down in those channels. You can't get any air down there. So usually fall and spring is when we fish that a lot.
Just got that suffocating hot temperature in the summertime.
It's just there's just no air down there. You can't. It's so high. I went down there one time and I thought I was gonna have a dang heat stroke. I couldn't get out there fast enough. There's just no air. I even laid in the water just trying to cool off, and I laid in the water to cool off just so I could walk 50 yards to my truck.
Yeah.
It's so hot back there.
Now, when that happened, how long was it in between time where you went again to go fishing down there?
We stayed away from there for about 2 years.
Okay.
That's how bad it spooked me. I thought, man, I ain't never, and I can still hear that moan in my head today. It's just, I just can't reproduce it. It's just, I've never heard nothing like it in my life. And like I said, I kept thinking of a caveman and a 55-gallon drum, the lungs that size.
Well, that's what a lot of people speak of as lung capacity, and I mean, I've heard it.
It had to have huge lungs. The air it was putting out to do that, and you could feel vibration on your body somewhat.
Yeah, I understand. Because we've heard things that have such a lung capacity that it woke up the whole camp, and there's just nothing out there animal-wise that's common that would do that.
Well, just weekend before last, we're down here in the swamps, Port Arthur. We got my boat and my wife, my top friend, going fishing with me. And we're back here in these swamps where the cypresses are and the palmettos are, and it's just pure swamp where we're at. we're sitting there fishing in the boat, and it's dead still. I'm sitting there jigging for crappie, and all of a sudden, something in the woods about probably 25, 30 yards inside the woods, it exhales. And it's really big. It's like, I thought it was a bull at first. It just went, but it kept going. Oh, man, I looked at my wife, she looked at me, she said, what was that? I have no idea what that was. I said, there's no cows out here. I said, we're in the swamp. I said, I don't know, it was big, whatever it was. Yeah. And I still wonder what that was. I don't know. I don't think there's Bigfoot on the coast in the swamp, but I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard some stories down there.
But yeah, we heard that like it was weekend before last. She told me, I think we need to go. I said, well, we're in that boat and it's deep water. I mean, if she starts swimming out here, whatever it is, I said, we crank the boat up and leave real fast.
Right, you're gone.
No, we're gone, but I don't know what that was. It had a set of lungs where it was, because it didn't breathe in, it exhaled. And it was really loud. My eyes got me, oh man, what was that? I looked at my wife, she looked at me, she said, what was that? I have no idea what that was. I said, I kept thinking of a bull, I said,
right.
But
no bull in the swamp.
Even a bull don't have that capacity as lungs, I don't think. I said, on top of that, I even got up on the upper deck of the boat and was looking on ground over there. I thought, hell, all that's flooded anyway, because, we had all that rain coming down here a while back in that storm.
Oh, yeah.
And all that flood water was coming down here to the coast, and all that was flooded. It's probably, the bayou's out of its banks. It was probably a foot over the banks. So all that was flooded, and it's just nothing but cypress and palmettos out there. And I looked at satellite later to see what's out there, and it's just swamp. There's no cows out there anywhere. I don't know what that was, but
well, you definitely heard something that wasn't natural to the area for sure.
Yeah, but it had a lung capacity when it exhaled out, because it was long, it was big, and it was deep. Mm-hmm. It just almost had a growl to it when it exhaled.
Well, all those of us that have heard these things in person completely understand what you're saying when you talk about lung capacity.
Yeah. Like in Livingston, that's where I grew up at. Okay, that's before deer leases started and all that. I roamed all those woods. It's thousands of acres beside our house. I could hunt anywhere I wanted to. And I nailed me a little tree stand. I built it up 2x4s. I nailed it up my pine tree. And just my ladder was 2x4, so I nailed to the tree to climb up it. I put it about 10 feet up in there in the woods. And I took a rake out there and I raked a bunch of pine straw up. And I raked the ground, the topsoil up, and I soaked oats in a 5-gallon bucket, let them swell up so it'd sprout. And I spread them out and I raked them back in the dirt. And they started growing. And so I put me a little corn feeder out there, and just like a 5-gallon bucket that I made. And for the deer, I deer hunt. And I've hunted out there for years. And I had deer. I had a lot of does with their yearlings coming in. The mamas were eating the oats I planted. Just a small patch. It's probably a 10-foot diameter. Just a small patch in the woods. Just something to maybe draw some deer in. And I've hunted that for a long time, year after year. And I remember over to my left from me, probably about, 15 yards, was a yopon patch. It was probably about 20 foot in diameter, probably. And it had pine straw all over it, so it made it look like a dark cave in there. It's just dark, in those palmettos.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the brush there. And so, anyway, I was walking my stand that morning, and before that, I noticed box turtles everywhere were dead. They were broken in half, dead.
Broken half?
Broken in half, yeah. Just like, it was like cracked them in half, and the inside were gone. Now, sure there's a lot of box turtles out there in these woods I'm seeing dead. Bad thing to have nothing. So I got my stand that morning, and before daylight, I never took a light with me, because I knew exactly I could see better at nighttime in the woods without a light than I can with a flashlight for some reason. And I knew exactly where my stand was, because I've hunted that stand for years. And so I got up in my stand, still dark. I was sitting there, and it broke daylight. I was looking around, and I just looked down at the base of that pine tree where my boards were nailed up for the ladder. And there was a hole there dug. I kept looking up, what was that? And there was something beside it. It had leaves and dirt stuck all over it, no sticks. I thought, well, I'll check it out when I get down. And so I climbed down, and there was a tumble bug, like a June bug on it, on that whatever it was with sticks on it. So I got 2 sticks and I broke it open. I thought it was some poop, something that pooped, and it was red meat. It was red deer meat, what it was.
Really?
Big chunk. It's a big chunk of it. Oh man, that's deer meat. Something was burying that right here beside my tree. And maybe I walked up this morning and spooked it off because it's all fresh.
That
And
is
so
the
I didn't
strangest
think
thing.
what?
That is the strangest thing.
Yeah, so I didn't think that at all. Oh well, I'm gonna, so I walked on down. I took a different way out of the woods this time, and I walked by a humongous white oak tree. You know, they get big. And I noticed all the bark at the bottom of this white oak tree. This white oak tree was probably 3 foot in diameter. And as I walked by it, I noticed all the bark had been raked off like a deer, rubbed on a tree.
Right.
And I stopped. Out. There ain't no deer been rubbing on a tree that big, not at the base of it. He's done knocked all the bark off of it. So I started looking, and there was all the bark had been raked off over my head high all the way down to the ground. And oh my God, did a big cat or a bear? But we've never had no bear out there. And I started looking for tracks, but it's pine needles everywhere.
Yeah.
Hard ground, you can't. But
Yeah, you're not going to see them.
I looked for track, I couldn't find nothing. But there was bark everywhere, and it had the scours, it looked like, because it had strung shit everywhere, just all over the place. I thought, man, whatever it was, had diarrhea bad.
Wow.
And so anyway, I went on home, and then maybe a week or 2 later, I was back out there hunting again, and I was sitting in my stand, and it was usually about 9 o'clock in the morning, and where in East Texas, the wind starts getting up. It's dead still till then. About 9 o'clock in the morning, the wind will get up, and then the pine trees start swaying. So that started up about 9 o'clock in the morning. My tree started swaying a little bit, and there was a limb had broke off back behind me off the tree, and I didn't hear it. I just heard it thud, and it scared me because it was right behind me. It went thud, and when it did, I jerked. I went, because it scared me. I wasn't expecting it. And as soon as I jerked, something in those palmettos ground really, really deep. It just went, like that. And because my eyes instantly went to sound, and what was that? And dude, I didn't take my eyes off of that spot over there forever. I sat there, oh man, I want to leave right now, but I'm scared to get down. And I had I had a 12 gauge shotgun with buckshot in it. And anyway, finally my legs and butt started going numb. I got to get down. I can't stay up here no more. And so I thought, I got to figure out how to keep this gun on that palmetto over there while I climb down with one hand. So I did. I got down, but I had the gun at my shoulder and my finger on the trigger aimed at those palmettos every step I took down. And I was scared because I don't know what that was. It was inside those palmettos, and it growled. And it didn't growl at the limb that hit the ground when it thudded. It growled when I jerked because it scared me. And the whole way out of there, I had the gun to my shoulder, and I walked backwards the whole way out of there.
It's like someone was watching you the whole time.
Yeah, I thought this thing, whatever it was in there, was watching me the whole time, and I never knew it. And I'm thinking, it knows where that oat patch, it knows that's a food source for deer, because there's oats and corn. The deer were bringing their babies in to feed, and that's a perfect hideout spot right there. I don't know if it was a bear or some kind of a wood booger in there or what it was, but there was something in there, and it was big because when it growled, it's like it was a gnarly growl. It spooked me really bad. It was deep and it was loud.
And you're stuck in the stand.
And there I am in the stand, like
yeah, that didn't make it any better.
15 yards away from it. And it's just I'm looking all I'm thinking it's sitting there looking at me right now, but I couldn't see in there. It was just too dark. And so after that, I wouldn't go to that stand anymore. I'd walk down a pipeline, and then I would cut back through the woods to my stand. Well, after that, I would take a flashlight with me, which I never did, and down the pipeline, and I would stand on that pipeline until it got daylight enough for me to see in the woods. Then I would walk that stand. That's how bad that scared me.
Yeah, that definitely affected you then. But I get it. I mean, that happens, and your only option to escape is down. I mean, to the ground, and you're 15 feet away. You know.
Yeah. I mean, it was so close. I did not want to get out of that stand for nothing, but I knew I had to.
Right. Man.
But yeah, as far as the creek goes, what the story I told, that's what happened. I went down there. I went down there that evening to fish. Which the creek was up a little bit. You can't beat the catfishing down there when the creek is up. It's the best ever. And everything you catch is big.
Yeah.
But that hole, it's a spot to go. It's right down. It's like a quarter of a mile off of Highway 55 below the bridge. It makes an S curve.
So it's a nice deep hole there.
I'll send you a picture of it on satellite.
Yeah, absolutely.
I looked at today, the terrain, the S curve, the sandbar has changed because as the creek gets up out of its banks, the sandbar changes around. The S curve, the hole I fished in, has moved a little bit more to the left instead of in the center of the curve.
Yeah, those banks always shift when it floods.
The sandbar has moved a little bit, yeah. Because that creek gets violent. I mean, I've seen that creek. My God, that creek gets way up. It could get 35 feet deep.
Wow. And you could camp there. That's not private property on the bank, or?
No, I don't really know who it belongs to. It's everybody goes down there and fishes in the daytime. Nobody says anything.
Okay.
It's just a little spot there. I believe it belongs to the Southerns. They're a big farming family there because we first moved there. They had crops planted up there to the edge by the creek, but people had been driving at the edge between the bluff and their crop. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm going to go back there and fish. And I was just doing what everybody else was doing. And I was back there fishing one day, and this guy up on the bluff behind me said, hey, you catching anything? I said, well, yeah, I caught a few. And he walked down there. He said, he told me his name. He said, he said, this is our property out here. He said, where are you from? I told him, Blooming Grove. He said, okay, well, that's where I'm from. He said, well, my name's Bill Southern. And I found out later they own tons of property all down there. And so anyway, he told me, I don't mind you coming out here fishing or whatever. He said, just don't run over our crops coming in. He said, because, we lose, people want to drive through. We just planted these crops, so they drive through the fields. He said, but y'all can fish out here all you want or whatever. He said, just stay off the crops, please. I said, okay. I said, I'm just following the tracks everybody else made. He said, I understand.
Well, hopefully everybody respects that and they don't have to change their mind later.
So last I was down there, nobody goes back there anymore. There used to be a piece of a road you could drive back in there. It's like a quarter of a mile from the highway. The old road's still there. We drove a four-wheeler down it one day with my wife about a year ago. And it's just, you can still see where the old road bed is screwed up in weeds, though.
Yeah.
But it's all still back there. I mean, you can go back there and do what you want, pretty much. But yeah, I made friends with him later on because he told me about all the other land that they own and where I could hunt it at.
Oh, nice.
They own a ton of land. They got Southerns. They've got a lot of property.
Good to have friends like that.
They raise down there where the creek is. They raise a lot of cotton. Sometimes they'll raise nothing but corn. Sometimes nothing but milo. And that's why the hog hunting is so good down there too, because when they raise the corn and the milo, they would love for you to come in there and hunt hogs.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
Because they're eating the crops up. But yeah, I went down there that evening into the creek, and it was, I don't know, in the afternoon, probably about 3 or 4 o'clock, and the creek was up some. It wasn't up a lot, but it had current enough to get the fish to biting. And I was catching a lot of fish. So sun went down. I went home, got my lantern. I had old Coleman pump up gas lantern. I went home, got my lantern. I got another couple more fishing poles, and went back down there. I already had caught a few fish. I cleaned those fish and then went back. And by then it was almost dark when I got back. So when it got dark, I lit my lantern up, and I was on that sandbar at that S curve. And I just had a 5-gallon bucket I was sitting on, and speeding my fishing poles, lantern, and a tackle box, and a 5-gallon bucket to sit on. And I kept a little 38 snub-nosed pistol in my tackle box because when you're down there at nighttime and the bottom's like it, you don't know who's going to come up on you at nighttime.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You need something for protection. I'm not worried about something. I'm worried about someone coming up on me.
Absolutely.
And so I just kept that in my tackle box kind of handy. And so I'm sitting there catching catfish like crazy, man. These are like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pounders. I probably got, it's probably around midnight. I've already got about 18 or 19 catfish on this stringer, big ones.
Wow.
As long as they're biting, I'm gonna fill my freezer up. And so I'm sitting there. I would say about midnight. It might have been 1 o'clock in the morning. I know it was late. I remember it was clear. It was fall weather, because that's when the catfish start feeding to put weight on for winter. And I guess that's why they were biting so good. It was a cool night. It was just right outside. Didn't need a jacket or nothing. It was perfect. Clear. You could hear everything. And I remember the stars were out, looking at the stars on the S curve, and sitting there, and all of a sudden, way off across from me in the woods, I hear a loud break. It's just a crunch, and it's just like a humongous rotten log just broke in half. I remember they got my attention, but I thought cow at first in the woods. There's no cows there, because it's a southern wind. They don't have cows out here. So I thought, it's just probably maybe a tree fell or something, old rotten tree. I didn't pay much attention. I went back to fishing, and then about probably, 10, 15 minutes later, I hear another break in the same direction. And so I'm sitting there, I thought, that's the same spot, but it's closer. It's not right or left, it's in the same area. And so I didn't pay any attention now. Go back to fishing, and a few minutes later, I hear another break, just brush breaking. And it's still a good ways, but it's in the same direction, and it still hasn't moved right or left. Because your eyesight goes to sound.
Yeah.
Because I kept looking the same direction, and I thought, well, it's coming this way, straight this way. And so there directly, a few more minutes went by. I heard it again. It was even closer. It's making the beeline straight towards this hole where I'm at across the creek. And there directly, it just it's like you could hear it walking in the woods. And it didn't sound like an animal. It sounded more like 2 feet to me. And so anyway, before it got to the edge of that bluff, there's some trees that grows up probably a few yards from the edge of the bluff. It grabbed a tree, probably, I'd say the trees in there were probably about 12-inch diameter. It grabbed a tree and just started shaking the crap out of it. Of course, I can't see anything. I could see the tops of the trees through the stars, through the sky.
Yes.
But the lantern, all I could see from the lantern was just a orange glow of the bluff. Everything above it, the bluff, was total darkness. And so I looked up towards the trees over there. I thought, well, I can see the top of the tree shaking. It was pretty tall tree, and just kept shaking it. Feel like a dead limb was falling out of it, hit the ground. I can hear them hitting off. Man, and I thought maybe at first a big bull or something in the woods, he's rubbing on trees, scratching or whatever. No, there's no livestock out here. This is all farming crops, And so then it would come to the next tree closest to the bluff. It would grab that one, and it would do this each tree about 30 seconds at a time. It didn't seem like a forever. And it would do the next tree closest to the bluff. It would shake the crap out of it. And then it would stop, and it would come to the next one. It did about 3 or 4 trees, I guess. And then the last tree, I remember it shaking it, but I could see the tops of the trees shaking way up there, but that was it. And then it stopped. It got quiet. And then from that last tree to the edge of the bluff is probably, about maybe 8 foot or less. It's just tall, dead brown grass, about knee high or so. And so it got dead quiet, and I could hear a movement in that grass. You could hear it easy, slipping through that grass really quiet. I just stared at the edge of the water listening, because I didn't want it to know that I knew it was there. It's just acting like I was just trying to ignore it.
Yeah.
But I'm just staring at the edge of the water. I kept my ears open listening. And anyway, I heard the movement. It's just like it was stalking really slow through that tall grass. When it got to the edge of the bluff, dirt clods started falling off the water, which it hadn't done it all night. And it just bloop, bloop, like that. And I looked over at the dirt clods, and I thought, this is not good. And so I'm sitting there staring at the water again, but I did not want to look up there. I didn't want to know that I was onto it,
Right.
And by the time my fishing boat took off, so that's about probably 4 or 5 pound cat. Caught it, reeled it in, Well, I pulled the stringer out of the water, which is full of catfish. I put it on the stringer. I threw it back out the water, staked it out, rebaited, cast it back out, set on the bucket, and I thought, I never heard that thing leave yet. So I just kept staring at the edge of the water, and there directly, I heard movement, and then I heard dirt clods fall off the water again. I looked over toward the dirt clods. I thought, yeah, those are good sized dirt clods too. This is probably about a 12, 14-foot bluff. It's just a straight drop. And then, as slow as it could, it eased through that grass as quietly as it could. I could hear movement. And then as soon as it got to that first tree, it was on again. It started shaking the trees like you wouldn't believe. It would go to the next tree, shake it, the next tree, shake it. And finally about the fourth tree, it stopped. I could hear it breaking timber, just leaving until it faded away. And then that was all that. I'm sitting there thinking, what was that? You know?
Each time it shook that tree, it was about 30 seconds.
I would say about 30 seconds. Yeah, it wasn't just a bam bam. It went on and on. I thought, man, this thing's going to show. I thought, I don't know what that was, but it went away, and I'm fishing. You know, it's so it's gone, so I'm not worried about it. And anyway, I remember though my pistol sitting there. I thought I got my pistol, but I thought that little 38, stubbed up 38, ain't no match for whatever was shaking those trees. I can tell you that right now. Because I was thinking, I know how big those trees are, and I've hunted this for 30 years. I thought, I'm a good sized guy. I'm 6 foot, pretty stout. Me and two or three more guys like me couldn't shook a tree that hard. If we tried, there's no way.
Now, at any time that was happening, did you think back to when you and that other fellow was out there and y'all got that moan?
No, they never crossed my mind. I was just that was done, put away, forgot about. That had happened probably, I guess, about maybe 5 years before, maybe somewhere around there. I was on a mission catching fish. That was it. And anyway, it's okay. So it went away. It got quiet. And it was quiet for probably 15, 20, probably that 20 minutes. And I heard this noise. And I thought, what's that noise? And I couldn't make it out. I thought, which way is it? It's coming from up the creek or down the creek? So, I'm on this S-curve. Mm-hmm. And the creek is running slowly. And I thought, it's coming from up the creek around the bend. I kept looking. I thought, what is that noise? And then I thought, no, it's coming from down the creek. So I guess the S-curve was messing me up on sound.
Yeah, I was messing with the audio.
Yeah, so anyway, I thought, no, it's coming from down the creek down here. Just down here's where it's coming from. And I kept thinking, what is that noise though? And I thought, rapid water. That's rapid water. No, there's no rapids out here. And I kept listening. I thought, what is that? And that's when I picked up. It was wading the damn creek. It was going swoosh, 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 just like that. I thought, man, if that was an animal swimming in the creek, the animal would be dog paddling. You wouldn't hear him walking the creek. And I thought, see, I know all that area, how deep the creek is. I fished it forever. And I thought, right around that bend, it's about 4, maybe it might be 5 foot deep in that area. That was a shallow spot to cross. Because there was a game trail I figured about where it was at. And that's where, when the creek's down, that's where most all the animals cross at. Was right around that bend. And that's about the shallowest place that they can cross when the creek's down. But the creek was up a little bit, probably a couple of feet. It was just slow running. There was no heavy currents. Just a slow running creek. And that's what I was hearing, was that swoosh, swoosh. I thought, man, whatever it is, it knew. I started thinking, how did it know from that first log break where I was at up here at this hole? And it made a straight line from that first log break I heard all the way to this hole. It came and checked me out. It seen the fish on my stringer, of course. So they're watching me, I guess. And then it left. And it knew where that game trail was at inside those woods. And it cut down that game trail. It knew where to cross at. And that's coming to my side now.
So, yeah, now it's on your side.
It's time to go. Man, hey, that big old stringer of fish, I couldn't carry it. I put the lantern in the fold of my arm. It was just old Coleman pop-up lantern. And I got my 5-gallon bucket. I run the fish stringer through my belt loops and tied it to my waist. And I grabbed all my gear. I put the 38 pistol in my front pocket. And I took off running for my truck, which I could see the headlights from the glow of my lantern. You know, if you look behind me when I was fishing, you could see my headlights up high up behind me. I took off running for the truck. And when I got to the truck, my lantern was still on. I threw it back to the truck, and I broke the glass out of it. It was still on. I broke it. Just trying to get it. I'm trying to get in that truck as fast as I can because when a creek is down for a while, you get all that growth, old cane growing on the banks and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And then when it gets up, it washes all that away. Okay, well, the creek hadn't been up in a while, so we had new growth of cane on the banks and all on down around that bend. I could hear it in that cane, breaking that cane, and it was tearing it up, and it was coming towards my direction, down in that channel. And so I could hear it the whole time with my truck. So I get my knife, I'm not untying a knot. I get my knife, I cut my belt loop, the fish stringer loose from me, and from my belt loops. I throw the fish in back of the truck, and everything else just gets thrown back in the bed of the truck. And I pull my keys out. I'm trying to unlock my door, and I've got the jerk so bad I can't get the keyhole. I'm jerking because by then I can hear this thing down there on that sandbar where I just came from where I was fishing. And I could hear stuff getting tossed. There was some old logs that washed in. I could hear stuff getting slammed around logs and blam, blam. And I was looking any second for that thing to pop out in my direction and cut me, heading for me. It scared the crap out of me. And I'm sitting there jerking so bad I can't hit the keyhole in my truck door. And so I thought, man, it's just like a woman in a movie, I was thinking out. She always falls down when the monster's after her and she gets killed off. That's not happening. I thought, stop. So I said, stop, take a deep breath, and put the key in.
Yeah.
So I did. I stopped. I took a deep breath. I put the key in. I unlocked my truck. And, man, when I did, I opened that door up. I slammed the door. I locked both doors. I cranked it, hit the headlights, and I burned out in reverse. And I didn't go back there I went back during the hunt season, which was probably a month or so later. I didn't go back there. I went on back in there, back behind the creek.
During the day?
I was back in there. I hunted back in there in the daytime and nighttime. But I've never seen nothing or heard nothing out of the ordinary back in there. I hunted back there during the daytime, way back in there. And even at night, I've been back there 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning by myself, deep in those woods. Hunting hogs. All I hear is a bunch of hogs fighting,
Just something about that particular night you were there?
It's just something there that night, but people had warned me all those years, stay away from there, but nothing ever happened. Other than what I told you about the moaning when the old man heard that. And then when I got ran out of the woods, I call it tree shaker is what I call it. Tree shaker.
Yeah. Well, maybe its intention, was to try to scare you off quickly so you leave your fish.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Going home, I thought whatever it was trying to scare me out of the woods. It didn't want me in there. And then when my son sent me those pictures of that old man's tent and his camp tore up, I thought of that. I thought, you know what? I wonder if something came up on him and scared him. Mm-hmm. And that's one of those playing cards. He just threw the cards and got in his truck and took off because his pants were laid out in his tent, straightened out with the belt still in them. Huh. Cigarette lighter was all there. He had it looked like a new little black charbroil charcoal tabletop grill that was thrown over to the side, upside down. The lid was tossed way over here in the weeds. All his little campfire sticks had been just kicked, it looked like, and playing cards everywhere, around the campfire. That don't make sense.
Yeah, well, it could be a territorial thing, or it could be wanting the fish situation, scare you off quickly, leave your fish, or it could be a combination of the both. I mean,
I'm just thinking though, since I'm catching fish back there, and I've already got a bunch on the stringer, and I'm constantly pulling the stringer out of the water, maybe it smelled the fish through the woods somehow. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. And it followed the scent. But there was no wind that night. It was dead still. But I laid in bed, and still I lay in bed at night thinking about that. It still bothers me about that.
It may have just seen the opportunity and it was going for it, but.
Yeah.
I wasn't too happy when you took off so fast, though. I lost the opportunity to get those fish.
I guess.
You were supposed to leave those.
I just don't know what to say about that. I just don't have any words for it other than what happened. It blows my mind that even happened. I can't believe something like that could happen, especially shaking the trees. It shook like it did. I've never witnessed that before.
Yeah, we've had encounters out there where the trees have been shaken. I've got lots of buddies who that's happened to, but then they were fortunate enough to get footprints off of them, which was greater validated what was going on. But
see up there where we lived at, all that's black land. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you've got it over where you live too, Mount Belton.
Oh yeah.
And when it's dry, we don't get any rain until probably late fall.
Yeah, you're
when
right.
it's dry, the ground cracks wide open. You're not going to get a track nowhere.
Yeah.
When it rains, the ground closes back up the cracks, and it's just the ground is like concrete. It's just.
It is. I mean, you got to get a lot of rain too to get that to soften back up.
And when it does rain, I can't get back in there far enough because I walk those crop field lines along the wood line along the crops. It's about 2 miles back in there where I hunt, and when it's wet, I can't get back there because all that's plowed up. It's just too far. 2 miles through that jungle of woods. It's just too hard to get back in there too.
Yeah, I understand
that. And so I can't get back there when it's wet. So I have to wait till it dries up somewhat. But even when after it's dried up, I've seen deer tracks, hog tracks. We've got some big cats out there, big mountain lions. They're see them every now and then. Big cat tracks.
But when it cools off, I definitely want to go check that out.
Yeah, I'd like to go. I've been thinking for years. I thought I'd like to get a group together and go back there. And I don't know if anything will happen or not. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, just do some fishing, act normal, and I'm all for catching some fish as well. So
I've always said if you're looking for something, you're not going to find it. It's when you least expect it.
Yeah, just be natural.
Yeah. And I've never tried to do any calling out there or any wood knocks. I've never done any of that because I didn't believe in any of that back then.
Yeah.
Just all nonsense. But
I mean, most of my heavy activities just been us just acting natural, being out in the woods, camping, doing what we do.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's like one of the guys on the side asked me if I had any documentation on any of that. I thought, no, it's just back then I don't even think I even took a cell phone with me. If I'm hunting, I don't take a cell phone with me. It stays in the truck or at the house because I don't want the thing ringing by accident while I'm out in the woods hunting.
Yeah.
But it never really dawned on me to take pictures of stout trees and trees bent over. I just figured, how that happened. Freak of nature, I guess. I don't know.
I'm sure you're gonna take pictures now.
But when the gas fields opened up in Arkansas, Ozarks, we moved up there, and I went to work in the gas fields. I'm a heavy equipment mechanic.
Okay.
And I worked on big drilling machines that bore instead of running a pipeline over the mountains, these machines drilled a hole through the mountain.
Oh wow.
And the pipeline's already welded up. And these humongous machines, they've got 1 million pounds of pull power. They'll pull that whole pipeline through the mountain.
That's crazy.
And so we go up there, and even way up, where we lived up in Ozarks. I called those woods up there, I called those the big woods, because even that's what they're called, the big woods. And there's wilderness areas up there that there's signs up before you go into the wilderness area. Enter at your own risk, no rescue when you go in. So it's even illegal to hang glide over that area. They said if you go in, they said there will be no rescue if you have to call out for help, if you can call out for help. Nobody's coming. They said because it's such a vast wilderness area, it's not possible to rescue anybody out of that area. They can't get a helicopter in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of Bigfoot activity up there as well.
And there's caves like you wouldn't believe. But I've been up in there and I've heard wood knocks.
Yeah,
and it's
I believe
like
that.
A damn baseball. It's like a damn oak baseball bat just hammering down on a solid oak tree. It's just as clear and as plain crack as it can be. I'm like, what does that?
Especially the way that sound travels through those valleys and everything.
Yeah, it's just a solid crack. And I'm thinking, there ain't no animal does that I know that. There's nothing in the woods that does that that I know of. The animals that we know.
Yeah, right.
And I've always wondered what that was,
Now you got a good idea.
But now, when I do go out in the woods, I pay attention to the signs now, the X's and the bent over trees and stuff like that. Which a lot of this stuff I've been looking at on YouTube and all, a lot of it's nonsense. They're making stuff up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've seen a lot of that.
There's a ton of it that's I call it bullshit. I don't know why can't they let the truth be the truth and stop making stuff up?
Yeah.
They'll put it on there just to get some hits on YouTube or whatever. Yeah. It's like they'll show a video, there goes Bigfoot walking. Well, they're all blurry pictures, so that tells me it's fake. Yeah, these phones today, they're really good.
Yeah, a lot of people don't want to put in the work. I mean, it's you just got to get out there. You get out there in areas that there are stories that come from, and just be yourself.
I decided if I really did ever see a Bigfoot, I'm not running. Matter of fact, I may try to approach it somehow. It might kill me. I don't know, but
yeah, I say the same thing. And of course,
I would like to try to make friends with it somehow. You know.
Yeah, I say the same thing, but time will tell if that really happens when it, you know.
Yeah. Again, if I got a gun and wanted to approach me, I may shoot it in the head. Who knows? It's scared. I don't, because to me, these people, they all say the same. It's like these things are like 800 to 900 pounds. They're 3 feet across in the chest. I thought, my God, that's just unbelievable. 3 feet across. One guy said that his thickness was 3 feet. Bam, from his chest to his back, 3 feet. I thought, there's no way, you know. I'm thinking they show these tree structures. You know, it's they talk about maybe it's his shelter. I'm thinking, well, if a Bigfoot is 8 to 10 feet tall, how is he going to get in a structure that small? You know. So I just read between the lines on all this stuff. I call a lot of it bullshit.
Yeah.
But some of it is documentaries that I gotta watch a lot of. Some of them are they're truthful with things, you know.
Oh yeah, some of them are really good, and some of them just make you question some things.
Yeah. So some of them are out there just out there to make fun of it, and I want to see the real thing because I want to know. I want answers to this.
Yeah. Have you been to the channel at all?
Do what?
Have you been to the channel yet? The TAPS channel on YouTube?
What? You got a channel?
Yeah, there's tons of audio on there, so you might hear something familiar on there.
Okay, yeah, I'll check it out. Yeah.
And I'm gonna post something today. Yours and I got another guy I'm supposed to do it for. I'm a little late there. And but when you see those on the Facebook page there, just click on. They'll take you straight to the channel.
Okay. I would like to send some down here with those. I'd like to go up there to Coons, to that Big Ticket National Preserve.
Yeah, that's a good place.
I've heard there's a lot going on. That's right. Yeah. 30 minutes from where I'm at.
Yeah, I got a good trackway and a big Sandy unit there that I made cast out of last year. So.
Yeah. Where's y'all's next group meeting going to be at? Y'all's adventure?
Yeah, probably Sam Houston.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll post it. We'll post it to the group.
I've heard a lot about Sam Houston. There's been a lot of sightings in that area.
Yeah, a lot of audio on the YouTube page that I captured is from there. So.
Yeah. Well, me, I don't have anything but a story to tell because I don't really. When something happens, I've either don't got a phone on me or it's too late to catch anything with a phone.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, the stories are good. So.
And I've never seen a footprint. I'd like to go and see a real one.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you will. You will when you least expect it. Now, especially now, looking for it. So.
But like I said, I've never been looking for anything like that. When I go in the woods, my mind is set either on deer or hogs. That's what I'm after, and that's what I'm tracking.
Right.
So I see things in between. I'm like, that just makes me go, I wonder how that happened. Or I've never really seen nothing. I seen something at the Barrel Mills Lake one evening when I was out there hunting. The core land, they got their land all fenced, good fences, and they mow a right of way about 6 foot, the width of a mower, around their property lines. And I was way back in there one day hunting hogs, and I come out about dusk, and I was walking the right of way by the core property fence, and over to my, I was kind of up on a hill, and over to my left it's an old road bed at one time. It just went down the hill, kind of bottomed out. It wasn't really grown up much or none, but I just walked by. It was dusk, and I just glanced that way, looked down that way as I was walking past it, and after I walked past it, I stopped. I thought, was that somebody down there? And so I walked backwards a few steps, and I stood there looking at it at the bottom of the hill, and I kept looking, but see, the sun had gone down behind the trees, and the sky was really bright at the skyline. And I'm looking down in a dark bottom, and I'm got my hand over my eyes, trying to block the brightness out, because it's dark down there where I'm seeing this. And I'm sitting there looking, squinting my eyes, looking out. That's somebody. And I could tell I could tell they were looking at me. And anyway, I squatted down, I stood up, I went every side to side, just trying to get where I could see good, because the brightness from the sun setting was throwing me off and looking down in that bottom. And I thought, the sucker probably thinks I'm an idiot, all the movements that I'm doing. He's probably, what is that crazy guy doing, And I just remember thinking, man, that's a big old guy. And I thought, I remember thinking, how did he get this far back here as big as he is? And then so I left and I got on back to the truck. Well, there's a parking area. Well, just my truck's there and that's it. And I know whoever it was, if it was somebody, they didn't beat me back to the truck because the way I was going was basically the easiest way to get back to the truck. And so I started thinking about it later, the next day. I thought, I don't think it was somebody because they were just a little bit too big. It was pretty tall and pretty wide through the shoulders, from what I seen.
That sounds to me like you may have actually seen a Bigfoot.
So that's what I was thinking. I thought, I've seen something that was, I know it was because the next time I went out there, a day or two later, I went to that same spot where I stopped at, and it wasn't there. It was during the daytime. And I came out that same time again in the evening, and I looked, and it wasn't there. I thought, I seen something there. It was big. I thought it was somebody, but I remember saying to myself, man, that's a big old guy. He's a big one. Because I remember it was really, really broad in the shoulders, and I remember they were facing, they were looking at me. There's probably 50 yards bottom of the hill from me on that old road bed.
Yeah.
Growing up.
And so as dark as it was down there, you were probably just seeing like a silhouette?
I was seeing a silhouette. I could make the outline of it, and it was darker than darkness was. And that was about it. I could kind of see some brightness from the face, maybe. I could tell it was looking at me. And I remember just sitting there saying, man, that's a big old guy.
Yeah.
Because I was surprised somebody that big, as big and husky as he was, could make it that far back in there as far as I was back in there. And I thought, that's a long walk for a guy that big.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a visual encounter from a distance for sure.
And so that's when I started thinking, I think there might have been something else and not somebody. And I'm with you, I kind of think it might have been like a Bigfoot. But that's the closest I've ever been to anything like that.
Yeah. Well, hopefully your next encounter, you'll get what you want. You'll get to see a little closer, up close.
Yeah, well, I wish that I could actually see something instead of hearing something, because hearing and seeing is totally different. What all I've experienced, there could be something to that. There could be an excuse for that. It could actually be a big bull in the woods rubbing on trees. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's, I don't know.
Well, I think just you'll get your opportunity. Just don't expect it. That's when it'll happen.
Yeah.
Well, Scott,
and that's about what I got. That's about everything that's happened to me in my lifetime.
I appreciate you.
It took years for all this to happen.
Yeah.
But it didn't just happen overnight. It's just bits and pieces here and there.
Well, I appreciate you, and I know everybody else appreciates you sharing it. The more stories, the better. Get more people aware. And like I said, whenever it gets a little cooler outside and I've got time to go, or you got time to go, holler at me.
Okay.
Get a couple of us down there. We'll do some fishing, act normal, and see what we can do. We'll bring some thermals, and that'll help. So.
Now, I need somebody that knows more about what's going on about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because I don't know anything about any of this stuff. You guys, y'all probably seen a lot more than I have.
Oh yeah, we've seen a lot, heard a lot.
You know what to look for. I don't.
Okay.
All I can do is tell you my story, and that's it.
Yeah. And like I said, definitely appreciate you sharing that. And if anything else happens between now and when we go down there, let me know.
Okay. But I picked y'all site because I've looked at these others, and a lot of these others, there's just a lot of nonsense on them.
Yeah, you're right.
I see like a power line, and there's Bigfoot, and I'm looking, I zoom in, there's nothing there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we call them blob squatches.
It's just, and I see tons of that on there. Look up behind the tree, you can see it. I thought, there's nothing behind that tree. It looks like a knot on the tree, maybe.
Yeah, we don't allow that in the group, so.
It's and I got tired of seeing that stuff. I looked at y'all's site, and I wasn't seeing all that. It's actually what you've really seen,
Right.
And so I thought, okay, I'm going to join this group. This is going on.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate it, man. We appreciate it.
So, and two, you're in Texas too, you know.
Yeah, that helps.
So, I really don't care about who sees Bigfoot in Alaska or anywhere else, you know.
Right.
I'm more concerned about what's here amongst us.
Sure. Yeah, where you hunt, where you fish, where you live.
Yeah. So,
all right. Well, once again, thank you.
I'll get you a pic of that creek though, and so you can give you an idea. It's not a big stretch of woods. I mean, it's a long stretch, but it's not that wide. In some places, it could be a couple 100 yards wide, but it follows that creek.
Yeah, it's up and down the creeks or the highways, you know. So.
Yeah, and because out in the fields, some of it's just cotton, corn, and stuff like that. But it's there is stuff that goes on down there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm excited to get out there with you.
All right. Well, I'll holler at you later.
All right. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. So cool stories there. Very credible individual, and I can't wait to get out there and experience Chamber Creek with him. And when we do, we'll definitely do some video out there, and any audio we catch, we'll share with you as well. Any pictures, any thermal hits, anything, including the fish we catch, we'll share with you. But if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, okay, and share the videos, and visit us on Facebook. On Facebook, you got to do the search. Texas Acknowledgement, Awareness, and Preservation of Sasquatch, or you can just hit the Facebook link icon on the home page of this channel. Thanks for listening.